Muraguri Kenyanize it a bit in the sense of BNI Kenya. This was a journey you said began 10 years ago. The milestones. And I'm sure we'll be giving out some awards today for all of us who've done great work out there. How has it been for you as a person? And how do you see BNI Kenya transforming the way, not East Africa, not the world, but Kenya does its business? Because it's always about, this whole issue about, kickbacks, referrals. It's kind of a dirty game behind the curtains. But at BNI, and you can see with the energy in the room, you're redefining this. If you could just speak further into this.
Great. Working? Yes. We started BNI with BJ about 11 years ago. And in 2007, you know what happened? There were fights in the country. Then he asked me, do you think this is the right time to start this franchise? I said, continue watching CNN. I'm watching the ground. And I saw this is the best time to help people, meet other people, because everyone was complaining about how the government is not paying, correct? And if the government is not spending, then even people are not making money. But when you bring people together, they see the opportunity and they see collaboration. They start believing in you. But it was the most difficult thing talking about this thing called BNI, yet we only had BNI in South Africa. So when you tell someone, become a member, they want to, okay, show me the evidence. Where can I visit a chapter? And I discovered I could only refer someone to South Africa. Who would go to South Africa to become a BNI member? None. So I decided, let me sell hope. So I met one guy, and he's called Macphilisa. He sells computers. I told him about BNI, and that time the yearly charges were 40,000. And he told me, okay, how much do I write? I want to be a member for 2 years. I went home with a check of 80,000 for 2 years. Then I said, hey, BNI works. If this guy can do this. And within 4 weeks, we had about 42 people wanting to join BNI. One thing that I've seen in BNI, there are two types of people who come to BNI. One is the hunter. The hunter is looking at how much he can get out of your pocket, and not how much he can give you. It's just about what can you buy from me, period. The hunters do not survive in BNI. We are looking to transform hunters into farmers. Because if you're in the forests and you're hunting, there are 5 antelopes. After you hunt the last 5, what will you do? Nothing. But if you plant seeds, how much can you harvest? So the journey has been up and down. There are times you have so many members joining. There are times you have some people leaving. But I've learned one thing. BNI is like stock exchange. Some shares go up, others go down. And we always say, after going through all that, because when we started BNI, I was actually a preacher. I was selling a concept. I was convincing I was doing the wrong things. Then along the line, after 6 or 7 years, we discovered if people see opportunity in BNI, they'll get in. If they don't see it, it's okay. Some will, some won't. So what? Others are waiting. Thank you.
I like how you put it there. Orlando, looking at this crowd, it's I see a sea of opportunity, a sea of passionate business practitioners who are, excited about business. This whole idea about scaling, I think it's one of the main pain points, you have your books, and now I just wanted to touch especially on the matters finance, because that's your area and your core of it. There's kind of a lot of, not quite, I would say just a bit of, not commitment into it. So I just want to touch a bit on the finance, and then we can have James as well now talk a little bit about attracting investment. So as an SME, what would be your advice onto it before I also ask you about media?
First of all, as you know, Laban, it's very hard to find a Kenyan, whether employed or not, who has not tried business. Even as I sit here, I can tell you, I can write a book on how to fail and start again. I've tried a few ventures. I think even My friend Moria can tell you we've been in the trenches together. But really, today, after a few attempts, a few failures, and some that are still surviving, and also being a corporate head, because it's the same thing, whether you're running somebody else's business or you're running your own, the fundamentals more or less remain the same. One thing I've come to fully appreciate, you have to be solving a problem. If you are running a business and your interest is to put a product out, then scaling it is going to be a challenge, because scale is about people wanting your product. Scale is about tomorrow, if today 10 people are consuming you, tomorrow you want 30 people, the following day 100, then 1,000. And that's what scaling is. Scaling is not really about the bottom line. I appreciate bottom line has purpose in business. But bottom line is an outcome of certain small things that you've been doing right in the business. And that is the product that you sell, the value attached to that product, and how much people are willing to pay for that value. So for me, I just generally summarize that if you are selling a product, then what you have is a product. But if you are solving people's problems, then what you have is a business. And that's what can make you scale in whatever you do. Of course, there are some businesses by their nature, it might be hard to scale if you leave it in that form. You could have the best solution in a kiosk in the village, and you'll be solving people's problem. So if you want to scale, then you have to see yourself bigger than the kiosk and solve the same problems, but in a bigger context. So at the end of the day, for me, anyone who gets into business, don't get into it for the money. I call it calculator profits. And I can tell you I've done a lot of calculations on paper, and I made a lot of profits in my head, but the reality on the ground was different. So if you want to get into it, are you solving a problem? And is the problem being faced by as many people as possible? That's how I'd look at it.
See the society and see how to handle the problem out. Moria, yours is particularly now on the conversation around systems, processes, structures. Because most of the time you find that owner mindset, you have the opportunity to say, what, I'm running the business, it's my show, this is how it's going to be. And now on the opportunity about what Orlando is mentioning about going forward, you really have to make sure that you have structures and systems in place. How can an SME do this?
No, thank you. Thank you for that. And when Orlando was speaking, it reminded me of the business. Actually, he and I were investors in the same small business. And we lost money. It was actually called Tasty something. We used to sell chips. And so even as we run these large companies, we all, as he says, we've all come from small businesses. And you sort of have that mindset of a small business owner. Because even in my business today, I'm always thinking, you have that owner's mindset. But, okay, now coming to the structures, this is where we sort of start off. In any business, to Orlando's point, you're addressing a customer problem. And you have a vision of where you want that to go. And what I've learned is that business is actually the people business. We're in the people business of addressing the needs of the customer. We're in the people business of managing the staff to create a cohesive team to help you achieve that objective. And in managing that team, you're managing very different personalities. But you as the orchestrator need to be at a higher level of thinking than them, so that you can bring all these personalities together to work for you to achieve the outcomes. And so where the structure comes in and where the strategy comes in, it's in giving people that shared vision. Because the challenge sometimes when you go to companies and you ask 2-3 different people what the vision of the organization is, and you're not getting the same answer, then these people are not pointing in the same direction. And that's a first step in making sure that there's a clarity of purpose, there's a unity of mission, and then the team has an ownership. When the ownership only belongs to the owner, it's only you who feels that deep burning desire to see the company successful, and everybody else is an employee. That's a recipe for not scaling up. So what the structure enables you to do is to ensure that everybody in that organization has that sense of purpose, have that sense of vision, they have that sense of mission, and they wake up working for you as if it's their own business. And that's the first, I think, challenge of any entrepreneur is how do I make everybody here a business owner? How do I then create accountability? Because people don't want to wake up to be supervised. They want to go and achieve their purpose, achieve their mission, feel as if they would pay to work for you. And that's the importance of having those structures in place. And then for you then as an owner to work through those structures. I'm currently, we have a whole range of companies. We work with small companies to very large companies. And every so often I also take, although I'm the group CEO, I also take responsibility to portfolio manage even the small companies. So one of the companies I'm portfolio managing is a small agricultural outfit. And I visited the greenhouses and I asked the staff there, do you know who our customers are? Do you know whether we are making money or not? And they did not know. And so one of the simple things we've done is that we now post those numbers in the greenhouse. There you can all see. Because nobody wants to be paid by the shareholder. Everybody wants to take pride in what they are doing. And now they go and check. I want these numbers to be updated every day. The first place they go is to have to huddle around that. How are we doing? And that has had an incredible impact on motivation, on performance of the business. So these processes and systems are actually a friend of the owner. They're not there to check you. They're actually there to make sure that the business does a lot better and therefore achieve scale.
That's great. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please appreciate the panelists for the first round. Are there any family-owned businesses in the crowd today? Any family-owned businesses? Family-owned businesses. By show of hands. I know that's a special group of people. James, I just want you to speak into this. Just touch a bit onto it. The idea, because the systems, processes, structures will come in, especially now at the times when they're family ties. It can be of benefit or it can be detrimental onto it.
See, also, in my other life, I'm also a family business owner. And the biggest opportunity of family business is that you have something bringing you together that is more than business. But the biggest challenge is that you may end up with a business that is not a meritocracy. Because the people running that business may not necessarily be the most qualified to run it. And you get a point where you ask yourself, do I want to be the manager running it? Am I the most qualified person to run it? Or do I want to do something different to enable the most qualified individuals to run the business? Because sometimes you might end up having very difficult conversations in business, and it's important in a meritocracy to be able to have difficult conversations without bringing family issues into the conversation. Because you're asking somebody, why didn't we meet the target last month? They say, remember, we had a sick relative. Those are two different issues. And having the maturity to distinguish between business issues and family issues is what makes family businesses successful. And also the understanding that in managing the business with very brutal honesty, you also have responsibility for a lot of other people who are working for you. So the family business that I've seen work are the ones that are able to make that distinction, and also that are able to attract professionals who know they have a chance to grow on merit as opposed to family ties. Because the challenge with family ties is that sometimes a business can stagnate, because the ability of a business to grow is on the capability of the leadership. If the capability of the leadership gets progressively diluted, because family members who have nothing else to do are the ones running the business, it does not matter how qualified the people you recruit below you are. You need to allow these people to manage. So those are the opportunities and also the challenges of family business.
Thank you, James. Anya, yours is on now the capacity to go the next level. What BNI gives you is not only a Kenyan network, not only a regional network, but a global network. What would be your advice to a firm that is looking towards other markets? There's an opportunity towards another country, with the BNI thinking that maybe this is what I'll actually do here. How about you? Should be okay. All right.
Thank you. I think it's important, first of all, to value the small things. Someone wise once said, if you can't handle the small stuff, you won't be given the big stuff. So do the small things well, very, very, very well. And then secondly, through BNI, you have a global opportunity. BNI Connect connects us to chapters and members all over the world. I've attended BNI meetings in India and now in Canada. And wherever I go, it's an immediate into that city, into that town, into that business network. You don't have to visit in order to grow your business. One of our chapter members, Eric, where are you? He just struck a partnership through BNI connections with folks from India. And he was able to strike that partnership because of being a member and having been a faithful, consistent member. And again, it goes back to being visible and credible. When you're credible, the business connections out there will start to pay attention. There are those, as Moragori already alluded to, who leave quickly because they're not able to sort of deal with the long haul, perhaps, and build that credibility over time. And that's very, very important. So BNI provides a great platform to, one, visit, but two, also to create additional networks and even business partnerships through the platform that's available to us once you become a member.
Thank you, Anya. Beatrice, we've spoken about financing, we've spoken about capacity, we've spoken about now the issue about processes and challenges, especially in managing a family business. As a practitioner, is there another pain point that you think SMEs experiencing, particularly maybe in BNI?
Please come again.
Pain points in doing business. So we're talking about finance, capacity, and looking at family. From your perspective, what are the issues perhaps you'd want to lay on the table that can be addressed?
Okay. Personally, I must confirm that I'm running a business which is family business. And two things. You have to separate issues, family and business issues. So for us, when it's business issues, it is purely business issues. When it is family, it is purely family issues. So we are able to put a distinctive aspect in the two. So when we are discussing about finances, we consult widely. And I would encourage every person who is here, who is running a business, not to just work within, but work with partners outside, so that you're able to be well advised about your finances. Thank you.
Or agree? Do you want to weigh in on that as well? Challenges, for BNI members or maybe for SMEs as well in going to the next level.
When I encounter, especially BNI members, there are so many challenges. But the key to success, whether you're in BNI or not, is discipline. And discipline is doing what you don't like to get what you like. And I always compare any business or even an organization like BNI with a gym, and I use this a lot when I'm training. How many of us are in a gym? I know you're here, but you go to a gym. Yes? How many of you are thinking of going to a gym? Thinking, planning. It's your 2020 goal. Okay? How many of you passed near a gym this morning? And you pointed. So there are various ways of getting the results. Passing near a gym, thinking about a gym, going to the gym and touching the equipment will never get results. The key to success is have focus, be disciplined, be courteous, be credible, and money will follow you.
Thank you. Orlando, in Kenya today, we have the side hustle mentality, where you find that, and especially you mentioned, I know your passion is particularly cooking and golf, but let's touch on a bit on cooking, because I didn't know you and James invested in a business into this. You find that, and this is speaking particularly to the visitors. Visitors, where are you at? We want you to make sure you feel at home. There is a chance that you want to try and start a business, but then you're employed, but then you don't know when is the time to make the jump, into entrepreneurship. There's always that challenge coming into it. So I would want you to speak to us on that, when's the time to make a shift, or when you feel like, now can you balance the two? Do you make the jump? Sort of things.
I don't think there's that magical moment or that line that can be drawn that this is this is the transition between employment and entrepreneurship. My philosophy, because let me speak about myself. I mean, I've tried business for as long as I remember. And that's why I have stories to tell. And I've been employed for all that time. The way I've chosen to look at my job, I've chosen to look at it as a source of capital, first of all, because any business requires capital. Today, I can tell you without a shadow of doubt that I am more bankable as an individual than my business is. If I go to the bank and I say I want to borrow, I'll be given unsecured as an individual. But if I take my business, accounts and all, and I say I want to borrow, even with the assets and all the title documents, the requirement is as long as what she was showing us, everything. And I realized that, wait a minute, I am of more value to my business where I am than if I was out trying to run it myself. So my take is start your business when you can. Whether you're employed or not, just start it. But the critical thing is don't get into a business that requires your 100% presence if you're employed, because it will not work. If you're employed, get into a business that you can employ somebody else to do the operational stuff for you. You can do the oversight. You see, you can, for instance, invest in, let's say, a restaurant. If you get a good chef, I mean, yes, I do love cooking, but nothing close to 5-star cooking. But if I want to start a restaurant, I can't take my basic skills there and say, now I'm the one who'll be in the kitchen. I better get the best chef available. I better get the best hotel or restaurant manager available, as long as I'm able to pay them. As James said earlier, you become the vision provider. Your work is to really do the networking, look for the opportunities, provide the vision, then guide these guys to deliver value for you. So if then you're not able to do that and you want to get into a business that requires your attention, then it's going to be a very tricky affair to balance between your employment and your business, because you'll be stealing from somebody. Either you steal from yourself, which most people don't want to do, or you steal from your employer, which is not ethical. Today, I run a business, but the only thing I do is provide the vision, the business opportunities, and make sure that the finances are in order. Remember, business survival is hinged on the value you are providing at a price that people are willing to pay to that can make you profitable. So for me, every day, that's what I'm trying to work on. Am I running a profitable business? Other than that, I have a fully paid operations manager. We touch base every morning, but I never take even 1 hour out of my regular job to attend to my business. Those are discussions we have either early in the morning or late in the evening, and then you create systems that will enable you to monitor that business. So if I was to advise anyone who's in employment, side hustles are not a bad thing. Just understand where you want to get into. And one final thing for me is that if you're going to get into a side hustle, remember earlier I talked about the quail mentality, where because everyone is making money in this, you also think you'll make money in that. I learned the hard way. I rarely invest in other people's visions. You don't know where their expertise comes from. If you're going to invest in somebody else, you see your neighbor is successful. Oh, what do they do? Oh, they do this. You get in. Take time. Find out that which you understand well, that which you can do well without struggling, and try and do things that you are good at. I've seen a lot of people get into businesses because Moragori is on BNI. Tomorrow I go and start NBI. I just change things a bit, and then I think I'll fill a room like this. No, it doesn't work like that. Find your passion, find your professional capabilities. That's where you should put your value. But I don't think you should shy away from doing a side hustle just because you're employed. Yeah.
Thank you, Orlando. Well, because you still have the mic, I just wanted to just quickly touch on visibility. Because yes, you have a good opportunity, you have a running business, but the visibility is not there. And I just wanted to touch on that because of your media background.
Now, because I believe most of the people here run medium, maybe small to medium-sized organizations. One thing we don't do well is we don't advertise because we look at it as a cost. And rightfully so, it is a cost. So most of the time will depend on the quality of our services, the quality of our products, and word of mouth to try and sell ourselves. Whereas that works, but I think it works up to a certain point, and then the limitations start. You remember earlier I talked about scale. Scale is about being able to reach many people. Now, if I have a business in a town like Nakuru, scale should enable me go to Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nairobi. But how will people in Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nairobi know that my product exists if those who can vouch for it live around me in Nakuru, for instance? And that's why visibility becomes key. I was looking at the booklet, and I was actually thinking, what a clever thing. Yes, it's a program and it has the events of the day, but I saw ads in there. Now, that booklet today will probably end up in, I don't know how many people are here, but as many as the homes we have here or offices, that booklet will end up there. Somebody will look at it and say, can I have a look? When they have a look, anyone whose brand is in there has an opportunity to be seen, right? I was seeing some brands that I've never even interacted with, but today I know them because they were advertising that booklet. Now, if there's something I'm interested in, what's the probability that I'll go back and look and say, hey, let me call these guys up. Maybe I was looking for a house. Maybe I was looking for a certain service. So visibility in business is key. Don't look at it as a cost. In fact, of late, I'm trying to reorient the finance team in my office to look at marketing not as a cost, but as an investment. You see, the moment you look at it as a cost, you'll never invest in that. But the moment you look at it as an investment, all I say is that, is this product going to work? How much do I need to do for it to work? And just like the cost of building that product or coming up with that service, I build in the marketing cost. And I say they have to go hand in hand as an investment, because without one, chances are the other might not get the traction it deserves. So my encouragement to all SMEs, find a way of making yourself visible. The platforms are there. Get an expert who is good in media. Let them advise you which platform makes sense for your business. Remember, if you're targeting the millennials, and I am targeting the 40, 50-year-olds, we cannot be focusing on the same platforms. We have to rethink our strategies. The millennials go to Instagram, go to wherever, and trust me, we've done the numbers. They do not watch linear TV. You're better off even advertising on YouTube than advertising on the traditional spaces, if the millennials are your target, you know. But if us guys here are your target, please, by all means, radio, TV, newspapers, that's where you'll find us. We have no time for YouTube and all that kind of stuff, you know. And when we do, it's just because somebody forwarded you a link, you look and you're out of there. In fact, you don't even want to watch the ad. When it comes, you're like, skip. So those are some of the challenges, but I would advise, get somebody who understands the media space, ask them to advise you, but visibility is very important.
Thank you, Orlando. Last but not least, Nancy. But before we get to Nancy, I'm going to ask Asha to please have the microphones just across. We can have like 3 of them, and then prepare your questions because we're getting into the Q&A. Nancy, yours is on how can BNI be very infectious in our society today? And I mean in terms of an idea of ethical business, because that has been a conversation on the table, but under the table it's something else, you know? And I'm just looking at BNI as a catalyst in the business community today.
As a BNI member, or as BNI members here, we are the brand ambassador. And what attracts people when you say that you're in BNI is how they see the way you do business. And because people out there, the nature of doing business is very, very different from BNI. Most of them is hit and run. Some people, they don't even know who is this customer that gave them business. So with our tradition in BNI, if I emulate the trainings and the traditions we have in BNI, that will attract people out there. How we do our business, how we refer each other, how we build relationship, and how we build that trust. So I think as members being the catalyst, being the brand ambassador of BNI, if we do what BNI trains us to do, we'll be able to carry the image of BNI very high, and that will be a main catalyst. People want to be attracted to us because of the values we're instilling in the business world.
Can you imagine the 100 of us, 500 of us infusing, just being an impact, just in your little own way, in your own society? You imagine what the impact of that will be? You know, the ripple effect, you know? So that's really great. Please appreciate the panelists one more time as well.